to look at what it's like being a writer. What is a writer's life really like? Before I became a full-time professional writer, I think it was something I had a really romantic idea about. I thought I knew what it would be like and how I would live as a writer. So the reality of being a writer might be a little bit different from how we imagine it to be. In some ways I think better, in some ways worse. But anyway, this is a writer's life, the good bits and the bad bits, or the best bits and the worst bits. So for me, let's have a look at the bad bits first to get them out of the way, because there are some. You might not think there are, but there are. I suppose one of the most obvious ones is variable income. I think at last time there was a survey done about it, it was discovered that the average income for a writer in the UK, earning their living with UK sales, was somewhere around £11,000. So you're not going to live terribly well on that. And obviously that income is skewed to get that average by having some really mega earners. So it's probably in reality lower for most people than you might even consider that to be. So variable income, obviously it can go from nothing to lots, and I've known both. And there's a certain excitement in that. If you like buying lottery tickets or doing the premium bonds or gambling on a horse, you'll enjoy the income of a writer because it's about as guaranteed as that. You might as well put some of your money on the 3:30 at Kempton because it might romp home and you'll win lots of money, and so might your book, or not. So variable income, I get paid twice a year. I get royalty statements, and they include royalties for the books that have sold in all different territories, and they're processed by my main publisher, which happens to be in America. And I don't know what that figure's going to be until about 6 weeks before I get it. I have no way of knowing. I can vaguely know how sales are doing, if they're going well or not, but I really can't know. It's too complicated. So I don't know, and I get that twice a year, and that makes it quite hard to budget because it could be from anything, from nothing to more money than you need, and you just don't know. Then there are other things I might get in between from different publishers and different rights sales, but they're quite small and quite incidental. And then there are the advance payments connected to deals and contracts that I have for books and series that I'm writing. So I know what those are, but I don't know when I'm going to deliver a book. I don't have any control over the publishing date of a book, so I can't really tell when I'm going to get those either. So variable, unknowable. Finances and income are perhaps to a large extent a downside of being a writer. So if you're in it for earning a lot of money, I suggest maybe there are easier ways. So that's one of the bad bits. Another bad bit is that you feel often out of control of your own career and your own work, because you can't really influence things like publishing schedules or fashion in fiction, or what a publishing house decides to do, how they decide to present your book. A lot of that is out of your control, and unless you're self-publishing, there are things, an awful lot of details you don't have control over. And then even if you are self-publishing, you do have more control over maybe the design of your book, the schedule, all that sort of thing, but you have still to put up with and work with the algorithm agony that we talked about in one of my other videos, and the reading public's tastes and other competition that you can't do anything about, and all sorts of things. Okay, so you don't feel like you have a lot of control over your career and your work. That's a bad bit. Another bad bit is that it is a very solitary business. You are, for the most part, working by yourself, spending a lot of time on your own, and there's no one else to do it. I've noticed this. There's no little fairy that comes in the night and finishes that chapter you were stuck on. There's no little army of elves who come in and sort of edit things like you hope they will if you leave it for a weekend and come back and think maybe it'll have gone on. No, it won't move an inch. It's all down to you. There's no one else in that respect. When you're working with an editor and a marketing team, yes, you are in a team in that respect, but from the point of view actually producing the books, getting them done, it's you. The buck stops with you. So that's another bad bit. What else is there? Self-doubt. We've looked at this in the bad habits of writers as well, and you get that, it randomly falls upon you, the self-doubt thing, and you just can't let it hold you back, really. But I don't think it ever goes away, and it is definitely a part of being a writer, so I think you need to just accept that. Another thing you have to accept is that everything takes forever. I mean forever, not just the getting published, but then getting the terms of an agreement worked out, that all takes forever. Finding your publication date, waiting for the publication date, having that moved back sometimes. Then maybe your book comes out in hardback and you have to wait for it to come out in paperback before you can see how it's really going to do. Or maybe you're hoping for an audio edition and that takes forever. Maybe somebody gets interested in optioning the rights of your book for a film. Well, you're going to have to wait at least a year to see that then maybe that's not going anywhere, or maybe it's going to extend for another year and you'll wait for that. During the whole process, you'll be waiting for editors to get back to you, and of course, not unreasonably, editors have other writers whose work they're working on, and they have publishing commitments as well, so you have to wait for those. It does feel like you wait forever, and then the flip side of that is that suddenly people will ask you to do things in a hurry. Having been waiting for weeks and months and years, suddenly you have a fortnight to finish something, or a deadline to reach, or a lot of work to do, and that's the nature of the business. It's hurry up and wait, or it's wait and hurry up. So everything takes forever, particularly when you're not doing it. That's another downside of being a writer. Disappointment. I think disappointment is something you should make your friend. Let's put this hand in glove with rejection, because of course another nature of the job is that your work is going to get rejected, and it's disappointing, and it can be rejected by publishers. It might be rejected by magazines or publications you're hoping to get work in. It might be rejected by competitions. It could be that the latest draft you've written of something is rejected by your editor. It might be that the readers reject it and decide, you know what, they don't like it. That rejection and that disappointment that you feel when work doesn't go as well as you'd hoped it's difficult, and I don't think it gets easier. You just get more used. It's a bit like a broken heart. It never gets easier, but you get more used to dealing with it. You find strategies for dealing with it, and you learn how to just move on and accept it and not get too unglued by it. But yeah, rejection and disappointment are part of the business, and you have to develop your pachydermis, epidermis, your elephant's hide, so that you don't get hurt by them, because you don't want to waste too much time. You just move on to the next thing. So those are probably the writing bad things. I've tried to think of more, but I can't. That's about it. I think frustration sometimes with the way that the industry works is natural too, but again, it's a small price to pay for doing what you love. Okay, so let's have a look at the good bits. So one of the good bits for me is you can do your entire commute whilst carrying a cup of tea. My commute to my shed from my house is actually 23 paces, or 24 if I'm tripping over the chickens. Rush hour around here is if someone's let the chickens out before I leave the house, and they're often in the way on the path. I love working from home. There are problems attached to it. Perhaps we'll look at those in another video, but I love being at home. I love my home. I have no desire to go somewhere else. I don't feel the need to be in an office or have lots of other people around me. So that for me is a really good part of being at home. I don't have a big commute. And that's the flip side of the solitude. I like being on my own. I like working in a solitary way, and it allows me to really tap into my ideas and my creativity, and I'm very glad to be able to do that. So that's one of the good bits. Another good bit is that you set your own working hours. This feels like a real freedom in the beginning, because you think, it's Wednesday, I don't feel like working, I'm going to have a lie-in, or I'm going to go and have lunch with someone, or I'm going to go walk the dog, I'm not going to write. And you do have that freedom. It's a bit of an illusion, because actually what happens is you end up working probably many more hours than you would if you were doing maybe a more conventional type of job. Again, coming back to, not having the little army of elves to finish things, it's all down to you. So it's all very well taking those extra days off or extra dog walks and lunches, but the work won't get done. So in reality, I think it is a plus side that you can choose your own hours, but it just means you're free to work more often than you otherwise would, I think. Another really good thing is you can take your pets to work. In fact, sometimes they insist on it. You can see one here. one I've prepared earlier. This is Daisy. Daisy. And Daisy often likes to come in my shed, and one of the dogs, and maybe two of the dogs, and it's nice. I like it. I would miss that if I couldn't take my pets to work. I like to think they'd miss me if I wasn't here working with them. So another plus side is you can take your pets to work. But the best thing about being a writer, I have discovered, is that you get to write. And it is a wonderful joy and a privilege to be able to be doing what I love to do and getting paid for it. And that's what it boils down to. And I feel very lucky. And I know it isn't just luck that's enabling me to do it, but I still feel very fortunate that I can spend my working life doing something I really enjoy, that there's an end result to it that I can share with people, and I love it when I get emails from readers and they've really enjoyed my books, because that feels like I'm doing something that's nice for other people too, not just for me. I'm also lucky enough to be supporting my family with what I do, and I recognise that that is really unusual, and that is largely down to the great American book buying public, and thank you very much for that, and I hope to keep writing books for you that you really enjoy. And I know also that I have readers in Brazil and Germany and Russia and Poland and the Czech Republic and all sorts of different places, Australia and New Zealand and South Africa, and I'm very grateful for all of that, and I hope to continue writing. You keep buying them and keep reading them, and I'll keep writing them, that's the deal. But yeah, that thing of being able to somehow legitimately spend your time writing is something I treasure, and it took a long time to get here, but I am enjoying it and making the most of it, because who knows how long I'll be able to do it, but I am enjoying it. So you do get to write, and once you start writing a lot, we talk about how you need to write often to develop a good writing habit. Once you start writing every day, hours a day, and lots of books, I write probably 2 books a year and 1 screenplay a year on average. It does vary, but that is roughly my output, and I know it's a lot, despite the lawnmowers keep going past. Give us the other disadvantage of working at home is people come and mow the lawn outside your shed. I think it is quite a high production rate. It is quite a lot, 2 books and 1 screenplay a year. It may go up and down, but when you're in the rhythm of writing, it's much more achievable perhaps than when you begin. I think, yeah, I do write faster now. I find it easier to get into my writing more quickly, and just, there's no substitute for the hours spent in your shed, basically. So doing lots of writing is one of the main advantages. One of the main good points is just that you can write lots, and nobody can tell you you're wasting your time or you shouldn't be doing it. Has the writing life turned out to be what I expected it to be? Yes, I think it has, but I think it's better. I think I've really enjoyed the interaction with my readers, which was something perhaps years ago I wouldn't have had so much as we do now, doing things like this and Facebook and all the other ways that my readers can contact me. So do feel free to email me if you want to, or put things in the comments, or comment me, or contact me on Facebook, or whatever is your way of communicating, because I like to hear from my readers, and I love to get feedback on my books or just questions about writing. I'm quite happy to help with those, and that interaction has been really a bonus for me, and something I hadn't expected, and something I really enjoy. So would I recommend a writer's life? You have to have a thick skin, you have to be prepared for disappointments and rejection, you have to be prepared to be disciplined about making yourself work when you don't feel like it, getting the work done and finishing things. But yeah, I would, absolutely. It's lovely, and if you want to be a writer, I would say go for it. Good luck with your writing and happy reading.